In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a one-point perspective drawing. So we have covered orthographic projections, which show you front, top, and right side views in the same view. We've also done isometric drawings, which show you front, top, and right side views all in one collective view. So we're going to do a one-point perspective here, which looks in many ways very similar to an isometric drawing. So I'm going to start by drawing the front view of block number 1. Now, block number 1 is pretty straightforward. So that means I'm simply going to draw a bottom and two sides, and then complete that drawing with my top. Now again, I want you to use your ruler carefully, and I want you to be nice and accurate, precise. So there I have my front view, and in my front view I can see the width and I can see the height. Now, an isometric drawing has you showing depth by drawing all of the lines off on the original angle that you had created. What we're going to do for a one-point perspective is do something quite similar, except all of these lines are going to get closer and closer and closer to each other as they move back into the distance. So this is why it's called a one-point perspective, because if you think about looking at something where the lines are parallel, like a train track, for example, you know the lines are parallel. They're really close to each other. But as you go off into the distance, it's going to look like the lines get closer together, and that's perspective. So what we're going to do here is draw some guidelines. And remember, when we draw guidelines, we're going to draw them nice and light. These are not going to be completely filled in when we're done. They're going to be partially filled in. So each of these guidelines that I'm going to draw is going to go from a corner of my object all the way to my one-point perspective. And this is called your vanishing point. And this represents the angle that objects would take if they go off into the distance. So there I have three vanishing point lines. I've taken one from each corner. Now, theoretically, there'd be one from this corner also, but because the object is covering it, you're not going to see it. It's going to be behind that object. So now I'm going to decide how deep my object is, and I'm going to pick that point, and I'm going to draw a line to there. So this line is going to go right along my projection line, and I'm going to stop it where the object ends. Now I'm going to take these two vertical lines that I have and draw in a third vertical line. And it's going to stop at that projection line. So now I know that I can fill this point in because this is the edge of the shape. And again, notice I'm doing nice dark lines for the object and nice light lines for any projection. So now I'm going to put my ruler across the top, and I know that the front of the object is parallel to the back of the object because it is a square or a cube. So I will draw that line back there until it reaches this point right here, and then I will fill that in. And there we go. There is my one-point perspective of object number 1. There we go. So that's pretty simple and pretty straightforward. Now, as these start to become a little more complex, these shapes, you're going to do some other things to make sure that we get the same type of perspective. So, what I think I'm going to do there is leave this one with you. I'm going to ask you to try and complete one-point perspective drawings of objects 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'll include pictures of these objects, the same ones we've been using all along, the same wooden blocks. I'll include these pictures in the description in this activity. And I would like you to try and complete object 2, 3, and 4 without any instructions in video form. So remember the steps that we take. We draw our front view that shows width and height. You start with a nice flat line. Then you do your perspective point or your vanishing point off in the distance, and then you draw nice light lines all the way to it from every corner that you see. Then you decide where your object is going to end, and you fill in the remainder of your object. Okay, I'm going to leave that with you. I'm going to get you to think about it. And if you have any questions, you can let me know. Remember, you're completing objects 1, 2, 3, and 4 in this one-point perspective style. Good luck.